Alright, this is my artifact for IT 11004 Survey of Information Technology. I chose my artifact to be building a PC. I'm going to go through the step-by-step process and explain the components and try to keep it relatively short because there's a lot of stuff to go over. So the components list the things you need in order to build a fully functioning PC is a case, a motherboard, a CPU, which is a processor, a graphics card, depending on what you're using your computer for, memory, storage, power supply, and then cooling. A lot of times cases come with cooling. The CPU comes with a stock cooler, so you don't need those all the time, just depends. So I took apart my computer. I'm just going to show you my build and then my step-by-step process on how to build it. So the case holds all the components together and protects against damage. A motherboard is the main circuit board of a computer and allows communication between all the computer components. My motherboard is a AMD motherboard. You can also get Intel, so this is going to differ a little bit if you have a different type of motherboard, so keep that in mind. The processor, the CPU, is the computer's processor that retrieves and executes instructions. I have the 3600. I did not take my cooler off to save time, so this is what mine looks like if you took it out. The GPU is a graphics card. It is a processor that handles the feed of output images to a display, so it also handles video rendering and video games. So if you're playing any video games or editing any videos through software, you're going to need a good graphics card. Like I said, some CPUs have integrated graphics, so you can get that as well and skip the GPU depending on what you're using your computer for. Memory is RAM, random access memory. It is fast temporary storage that a computer needs to access certain files. So that's what mine look like. They're normally pretty similar. They're just a stick basically. And then storage, you have two different types of storage, hard drives and solid state drives. I have both, so I have a 1 terabyte solid state drive. This is an NVMe drive, and then this is my 2 terabyte hard drive. So I have my OS and certain files stored on here to keep it quick, and then a lot of my big files, some video games are on this storage device. A PSU is a power supply unit, so that is what supplies power to the computer. It converts AC voltage from a outlet to low voltage DC to power all of the computer, the components, everything. So the steps to building a computer, I took pictures of my step-by-step process. This is going to be very fast, but it's going to give you an overview. The way I like to do it is start with a motherboard. There's different ways you can do it in any order you want, but with the motherboard you can put some components on the motherboard before putting it in the case, which gives you some more room. So if you see here, this is my motherboard. There's a lot of stuff going on. Right here is where we're going to put the RAM. So these tabs open up in these two slots. Here's a closer look, and so we're going to put the RAM in there. It just sticks right in and clips in. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my solid state drive in. It's an NVMe drive, so it mounts straight to the motherboard. So right here is where it plugs in, and then it screws in right here. And there's different sizes. I'll go back. There's different sizes you can get, but mine's 1 terabyte, and it happens to just fit in this one right here. Here's the case. The motherboard is going to screw into these divots right here. Mine came pre-installed, but my brother's was not pre-installed. You had to screw these things in, but mine were, with this case, it came pre-installed. So you basically lay the motherboard down like this, and then you can see those screws I put in. So right here, I'll go back one more. This is where the graphics card goes. These tabs pull out, and then you put the graphics card here. It clips in, same with similar to the RAM. So here is the graphics card here, plugged in. Here I added power, so now we're getting into the whole wiring of everything. This power comes from the power supply. So here are all the ports. This is just cables plug into the power supply here and then go up to different components, the graphics card, the motherboard, fans, different things like that. My power supply here, this is all the cords plugged in. Again, I'm skipping over this pretty quickly, but manuals will tell you everything where everything goes. But um, Here's the power supply mounted, so you can see here this is the back. The front is just going to be mounted with 4 screws. This is where you plug in the outlet and to turn it on. You can see it's upside down because the fan has to push down, or it's better that way to give more airflow. If it's going up, it's going to push all that heat into where the CPU and the graphics card is. So here is my hard drive. This basically slides into this mounting bracket here. It screws in on the sides, and then this gets mounted onto my case. So it's kind of hard to see, but you can see here it gets mounted there, and this power is coming from the power supply. I just plugged it in. So this is the back of my computer with all the components and all the wiring hooked up. This is my power supply down here, the back of the motherboard. All these wires are coming from the power supply and getting distributed throughout the case. The back panel is put on here. And then here is the finished product of my computer. Again, I skipped over a lot. All of these wiring, it seems complicated at first, but it's just a bunch of fans here, which mine were pre-installed. I put new ones in, but this was already wired. You just plug them in. So that's the quick rundown of how to build a PC. Hopefully that helped. Here's I have a glass screen on or glass panel on my front of my case. You can see my son's Lightning McQueen toy in the background. But that's my fully finished PC. I hope that helped or was at least a little interesting, and that's my artifact. Thank you.